Hi guys, welcome back. Today we are talking about body image and the effects that social media have on how we feel about ourselves. So I'm here with some incredible people. I will let them introduce themselves because I always think that's the best way.
I am Jules Von Het, body positive advocate, founder of Isle of Paradise, and also huge joy giver online.
Oh, I love that.
Hi, I'm Stephanie Yeboah. I am a plus size style blogger, writer and author of a book, Fattily Ever After.
Mine is so much less impressive. Okay, my name's Francesca Perks. I live in Salford. What do I don't have a book or a TV show or a brand. I am a bit fat on the internet and it somehow worked being a bit fat. I don't really have anything to... That's me, I don't have a brand or nothing.
And you're so fabulous. So I'm going to start with the first question. This is just going to be a general chit chat, how we feel about it, and also I think answering quite a lot of questions that a lot of people think and feel with regards to social media and body image. So what is it about social media that can have such a negative impact on how we feel about our bodies, do we think?
I think with social media there are two different strains that this comes under in terms of negativity. So the first strain that we have is trolling, which I feel like we're all privy to when you have such a platform on social media, is that you'll get people who will try as much as possible to say really hurtful things in order to put you down, and their excuse for doing that is, well, you've made your platform, you've put yourself on there, so therefore you shall be privy to all of this projection that we're going to put on you because we feel like you shouldn't be living the way you are and we're not living like that, so therefore we want to make you feel as small as we do. So then social media, I think, has given everybody a platform to speak negatively and have this whole sort of freedom of speech, I can say what I want kind of thing. The other vein of social media, which can be quite problematic, is when it comes to appearances, when it comes to things such as filters, when it comes to the way in which people can manipulate their bodies in order to look different online than they do in real life. I think that can be quite damaging, especially to younger people as well, who do look up to loads of celebrities and influencers and think, oh, this person looks like this, they have these boobs, they've got this bum, I need to aspire to that. But then obviously in real life they don't look like that, and so it's perpetuating this false image of what the perfect body needs to look like.
We've created an aesthetic that essentially doesn't exist.
Yeah.
Like, we have created a monster, this huge bummed, tinsy waist monster, and no one really, at the end of the day, even the ones that have tried stride for it, don't have it at the end of the day. So we've created something that doesn't exist. And how is that going to end up positively? Because everyone's reaching for something that isn't unattainable. It's not there.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
I think as well there's also the root of evil, I believe, in social media, especially with body, is comparison and believing that the image that you are being shown by another influencer or by a celebrity or in the media is the absolute goal of happiness, and that image that you are shown equals happiness. Yet actually that's not the case, and I think it's our responsibility to completely show the other side of it and say, it's okay to not retouch, it's okay to not have that body, you don't have to have that because that doesn't mean happiness.
Yeah, and it must be so hard as well, because with the first strain, like you were saying, and the trolling and the negative comments probably makes people feel they need to appear more polished and to give this image online that isn't real, therefore perpetuating the comparison and the second thing where it's like no one looks like that.
Yeah, definitely. And I think when we have this kind of, I feel like there's like a twofold when it comes to influencers and people online. So we have got the really glitzy, glammy influencers, and then we've got influencers who just kind of just generally show their day-to-day life. They don't, filter or Photoshop. And so they're projecting this image of just reality, but for some audiences, that's not enough. So then when you sort of present yourself in your normal state, if you've got rolls or cellulite, whatever the case may be, because the audience or the ones that tend to troll are so used to seeing perfection, they start to nitpick at your everyday average normal body, which makes us feel insecure, and then that goes into us photoshopping or face tuning, all of these things, and it's just a really horrible cycle that I think definitely needs to be broken.
Definitely. Which platforms in particular do you think are worse for things like body image?
I'd say YouTube.
Oh, really?
I mean, I think it's because it's such a long form content. And say if someone sat and watched 20 minutes of you up close, right up in your face, and they'll make a comment that they've evidently watched your behaviour, your demeanour, and it can feel like you almost need to invoice them for a therapy session after, because it's like so deep rooted. Because they've watched you, they've watched how you move.
They've watched more of you.
Yeah, it's not just like a selfie and they can just like
Right.
click, they've watched you, a whole being, your personality, and it can just feel like such a punch in the gut.
Yeah.
But I mean, Instagram's just as worse. Everyone's just so mean.
I know.
I think Instagram is definitely, in my opinion, the worst for changing the way that body image is shown. I think because whoever it is, whether it is an influencer or whether it's somebody you go to school with or somebody's mum or auntie, there is that ability to remove wrinkles, fine lines, to change the body shape. And not everybody can spot, like I'm sure we can all spot if an image has been face tuned. Not everybody has that. And I think an image, when you're scrolling, seconds you're going to look at it, but the way that it's made you feel is going to stay with you for so long. And I can be guilty of it. And I can scroll and I'll look and I'll instantly be affected and it triggers me, and then I choose to mute, but some people won't do that, and they'll keep scrolling and it'll stay with them.
It's such a subconscious thing as well. When you're just scrolling through, you're not really thinking about the fact that this is all going in somewhere.
Yeah, definitely. I think Instagram is one of the big perpetrators of that, and I think it's funny that you say that. We can always see when somebody's sort of face tuned because we've been in this industry a long time.
Yeah, I'm like, face
so you
tune.
can spot, but then we also, sometimes we forget that we're in such an echo chamber, so we assume that everybody else can spot when somebody has like smoothed their face, whatever the case may be. But then there are, you know, young girls or people that aren't really au fait with social media who are scrolling and seeing this as their reality. And like you say, it can take a few seconds, but it can trigger someone into feeling just insecure and having lots of low self-worth. So
but I don't believe that it is the platform's fault. We are in complete control of our scroll, and we choose who to follow. I don't think we can blame a social media platform for how we feel about our bodies. It's not their fault, but we need to curate our feed to make us feel good.
Definitely. 100%. So my next question was, do you think that poor body image has become more of a thing because of social media? And I think, although you're saying it's not social media's fault and we can definitely tailor it, it's definitely something I've seen a lot more of due to social media. I don't know about you guys. I
mean, I've worked on so many campaigns as a spray tanner and a makeup artist, and I've stood and watched the monitor come up on set, and I've looked at the model, I've looked at the monitor, and 6 months later the bus has gone past me.
And it's a completely different image.
It's a completely different image. That model doesn't even look like the model in that campaign. So before social media, it was being forced down our necks that this whole ideal, which doesn't even exist because it's been retouched, was normal and was aspirational. Whereas I think what I love about social media now is that it actually, because of the influx of real, we're actually seeing the other side of it, and we're seeing this whole pendulum swinging the other way, and this refreshment is coming in where we go, oh my God, yes, I don't need to look like that to achieve self-worth.
Yeah, it's true. There's so many, like you were saying, back then it was like magazines and things that we didn't even know. Like growing up, and I would read the magazines, I would think, oh my God, her skin looks amazing. Oh my God, look how great she looks. Back then I didn't think, oh, I wonder how much this has been edited or what it actually looked like on set. And now we see so much more of behind the scenes and things on social media. And we have amazing accounts like you guys that are spreading such a great message, which wouldn't have existed when magazines were coming out. So I think that's definitely a plus side, for sure.
Yeah, definitely. And I think even in regards to, because I think it's such a twofold thing with social media, because like you say, we can have the great parts where we have influencers who promote positive body image and self-love and things, which has been absolutely amazing, I think, for our generation.
Definitely.
But then on the other side as well, you do get this sort of false perception of reality. And I think one of the things for me that's really stood out about it is filters. So coming from the Snapchat crowd onto Instagram, it's like we now have filters that aren't, you know, like the fun ones that we tend to use, but we have filters that actually replicate surgery. So you
Those scare me.
So you see those filters
Yeah.
that make your lips really big, or your eyes almond shaped, or your face heart shaped, and you hear stories of people actually having surgery to look more like their filters now, which is really scary.
Yeah, that's
really,
terrifying.
really
Black Mirror.
scary. Black
Yeah,
Mirror type
it
stuff.
is.
Yeah,
that's
but it's
horrible.
like, I just wish that in terms of, even though it isn't social media's fault, I think with Instagram, and I think what they're doing this at the moment, but they're putting a ban on filters that are very realistic, but also very like snatched, very sort of
Altering what your face
altering
looks
what your
like.
face looks like, and they're beginning to ban accounts that do that, which
Oh,
I think
wow.
is really, really good. It's such a positive step. So yeah, kudos to them for doing that. 'cause
Yeah,
it's
that's great.
quite dangerous, I think.
How do you feel that people can help reframe their attitudes towards body image and how they feel about themselves?
I think acceptance is a huge first step to take. So many times as a spray tanner, I would get asked, can you make me look like insert celebrity name?
How? With sprayed how?
But no, so somebody might have seen an image in a campaign and thought, I want that skin, I want that tan.
Right, okay.
And I would just say, but you're not that person, you are you. And I think once you start accepting that your body is quite literally a combination of your parents' DNA, it's
Yeah.
just cells, it's not like the universe has gone, do you know what? I'm going to make you shorter than everyone else just for a laugh. It doesn't exist. It's just biology, it's DNA.
Yeah.
This is the body that you've been given. And once you start to accept that and look in the mirror and not necessarily say horrible things, start to accept how you look, I think it just puts the wheels in motion.
I can't agree with that more. Like when I decided, the case of me deciding to love myself was one day I was at my absolute lowest and I just decided not to hate myself anymore. I was at the brink of just absolution. I just sat down, I was in front of my mirror, I just went, right, tomorrow I'm going to wake up and I'm not actually going to loathe every part of my body. Let's start there. Something as simple as just accepting this is your body, you were born with it, and it's going to do amazing things for you. It can literally carry you from stage of your life to stage of your life. It is a working organism. It's the rolls, the extra, the wobble, cool, that's just like some fun accessories to it. It is your life. This is keeping you alive. This is more than just likes on an Instagram photo and how snatched you are. It's bollocks.
Yeah, just literally echoing what you were going to say. I think in terms of sort of body acceptance, I always find that there are like 3 different pillars that you kind of have to go through in order to get the wheels in motion to loving yourself. And for me, I think the first one was apologising to your body as opposed to apologising instead on behalf of your body. So back in the day, anytime I would go on the bus or the tube and someone had to sit next to me, I would always squeeze myself to make myself as small as possible so that the other person felt comfortable. I would always issue some kind of disclaimer if I was going somewhere or trying something on, like, oh gosh, I'm so sorry, my arms, my this. And I realised that what we're doing is almost like emotional mental abuse to your body, but because it's to us, we don't really realise it. And so one day I literally just wrote a letter to my body as if it was a separate entity and just said, you know what, I'm so sorry for doing this and the self-harm and the starvation and all of these other toxic things that I used to do to it. And once you do that, it's just a case of just breathing out and actually saying, do you know what, I'm apologising to you because I've been abusing and harming you for so many years, yet you're still here keeping me alive. And so it's kind of acknowledging your body as its own separate thing that is still working to keep us alive and walking and healthy and abled and all of these things, just regardless of what we've done. And then I think moving on from that is where we start or stop actually comparing ourselves to everybody else, because everybody else is on their own body journey, and just because somebody looks to be in a privileged, small, tanned body, it doesn't mean that they don't have their own issues that they're fighting against as well. And so I think it's important to kind of take the steps to stop yourself from comparing yourself to other people. And then also unlearning all of the toxic traits that we were told as kids from the media, from our parents as well sometimes. And I always say therapy is such a great thing for everybody to kind of go through, because it really teaches you how to unlearn all of these negative body images that were constantly thrown at us as kids.
I think as well, like we learn to hate our bodies. We're
Oh,
not
yeah,
born
so learned.
hating our bodies.
Yeah.
It's true.
So if you are stood in front of the mirror and saying horrible things to yourself, you can undo that and you can turn it the other way, and it is a big ship to turn around in the ocean and change the direction. It does take time. It doesn't happen overnight, but you can do it, and I'm sure we've all done it. And to keep telling yourself that and keep reminding yourself that, I think a really simple tip that I learned along the way was actually taking a compliment that someone says. Annie Mac actually taught me this, and I was at her house doing an appointment, and she said, "You look really good today, Jules." And I said, "Oh no, I'm really tired, I'm really stressed." And she said, "No,
take my compliment.
I've just told you that you look good. That's my opinion, take it." And it was like a light bulb moment for me, because I realised actually I should just accept somebody else's opinion of me, and that's really nice, and just say thank you. And that actually starts to manifest inside, and it will start to turn the ship.
And it's also one of those things as well where it's like, they always say you should never speak to yourself how you would never speak to anybody else.
That's my mantra. That's my mantra.
Yeah.
Speak to yourself like you speak to your best friend.
Exactly.
Like if you're sat at a pub with your best mate and they're over the bench, you're not thinking, "Oh, she's gained a few pounds."
Exactly.
Thinking, she's a great friend. She's got a cracking smile. She's got a dirty laugh. Like, why would you not speak to yourself like that? You're not like being like, "Oh, she's got a bit fat, isn't she?" Like she's a great friend. She's a great sister. She's 100%. A great daughter. Like.
Or she owes me 20 quid.
Pay her around, bitch. Okay, so what helps you to stay more body confident when using social media?
Following positive accounts and checking in with those accounts, because sometimes that algorithm just does not show you what you want to see. So going onto those accounts, checking in, and literally just filling yourself with that positivity, with those unretouched images, and just flooding your brain. That, like, if I ever have, I call them wardrobe meltdowns or the spiral of doom, when it just, sometimes it doesn't work out the way you want and the morning doesn't go the way that you want it to go, and just logging onto those accounts that you absolutely love, or even have like a body positive make an album on Instagram and just have body posi and just flood with that, and I think that really helps.
If someone wanted to find those accounts, how could they go about finding those really positive people to follow, apart from you guys?
Apart from us guys. So by underneath an Instagram account name, there's a tiny little arrow that points down. If you click that, it will show you all the other accounts that relate to you.
Yes, I love
and
finding
so you can actually
those.
just sit and follow, and also lots in the body positive community, we shout each other out quite a lot, and we really like look after each other. So you'll often find other people through accounts.
I think that's the main thing for me. I think has been being involved in a community full of people that not only look like me, but are also on their own journeys of trying to love themselves, because it inspires me to do the same as well. And so I think curating your feed, whether it be on Twitter or Instagram or YouTube, just full of accounts that uplift you, is so important. Because back when I had such negative ideals about how I looked, and I would look at other maybe plus size women, back then Steph would have been like, "Oh gosh, what's she wearing? She shouldn't wear that. That's going to highlight her stomach. It's going to do this." But now when I scroll down my feed, everything is just so normalized to me. So I just see plus size women, or just women that have body shapes that I guess society would feel doesn't fit in with what they aesthetically like. But it doesn't even not like click in my brain anymore. So I just see all of these different shapes of women, and that's my normal now.
It should be everyone's normal, shouldn't it?
It should be everyone's normal. Whereas now I just scroll and it's just like, "Oh yeah, she's in a bikini. Oh yeah, she's got this. And I think it's just about relearning what your new normal is, I think, and unlearning, all of the negative stuff that we've been taught.
I think just to add as well, I'd say restricting the times of day that you go on Instagram. That might sound silly, but I feel like I'm more susceptible to feeling a bit shit at like 11 p.m. when I'm lying in bed,
tired,
my boyfriend's asleep, I should be reading a book, and I suddenly just, without even realising, I'm on my phone scrolling. I feel like I soak it in a bit more like a little sponge, rather than like if I'm just quickly on the go having a quick look. I feel like my brain's like a bit more dormant, and I feel like I can find myself soaking it in a little bit more. So maybe there's a new thing that you can restrict the times you go on an app, the amount of time.
I think so, yeah.
Yeah, like things like that helps me massively, that I physically have to read a book or go to sleep, Fran. Like you have two options.
I think another good tip is to have a secret account. Like I have another account where I don't follow any of my friends, any like other people in the industry that maybe trigger me. I just have an account where I follow positive affirmations, people who make me feel amazing. And if I have a little wobble, log into into a new account and just go on that.
That's a nice idea. So do you think that we should all be sharing more imperfect images of ourselves on social media?
Yeah.
Because I know I'm always trying to be a little bit more like, I'm not going to do my makeup today, or shall I put this online, like I've literally scraped my hair back, it's greasy, but I don't care because this is just what I look like this Sunday morning. Do you think more people need to just be a bit more relaxed about what they're sharing, make it a bit more real life?
I think in our world as influencers, I think it should be a responsibility that we should do that. I think in everyday life, it's up to you, it's your content, you control what you post, but just remember that there are two sides, and almost Instagram or that social media is the stage, as it were, and sometimes actresses and actors, they have their makeup done, they go on stage and do a job. Actually, they take their makeup off and they go home and they have another side of life. And if you want to post something with your hair up, no makeup, you do you, babes. Life is not always curated. It just isn't. We all have bad days, and I personally believe it's good to share all sides.
Yeah, I think that's completely correct. I think there's also like two sides to it in a sense where I think with influencers as well, especially when working with brands, sometimes there is that expectation where we need to kind of be a bit more polished in a campaign that we're doing. So, but then that's like our jobs, I guess. So we kind of see it as people doing the 9-to-5s, putting on makeup, going to work kind of thing. So there is that side to it. But for me, I think Instagram stories is where I kind of like let loose and come alive and be a bit more raw and like go on there with like no makeup on and like, you know, just talk about rubbish and Netflix and all of that kind of stuff. So, and for me, I found that that's where people tend to connect more with me on my stories, is because I'm always just talking about everyday life or just like shopping in Lidl and showing people what I've bought and like all of these kinds of things. So I think, especially with the kinds of things that I talk about and the kind of things that we talk about in terms of just being confident and having self-esteem and things, I always try and show that side of me as well, and not just the kind of like posy kind of Instagrammy bits that I do.
Yeah.
I think people appreciate it more than we know as well. Like even if it's just us quickly coming on saying good morning when we've still got the scrunchie on, like yesterday's mascara. People, we don't know who's viewing that just need that one, like, okay, it's okay. Like, I don't have to, even if someone's having a really bad day, can't get out of bed, they can look at someone and they're looking a bit rough as tits. And they'll be like, okay, my favourite blogger's looking rough as tits as well today, like Soul Sisters. Yeah. Like, just something as small as that could mean like something huge to someone else, just not being your polished,
just being relatable as well, isn't
self.
it?
Yeah.
So do you feel that it's any different from men with body image and body confidence online? Like, how does it vary, do you think?
It's funny because I get asked what's it like being a male body positive influencer, and for me, my gender actually has nothing to do with it. My journey with my body is my own path. I think in society, we have such horrific terms like dad bod that is not shamed enough, and I love how much body positivity we're seeing on the high street and in campaigns within the female side, especially in fashion, but we're not seeing that in men's fashion. And men are much more introverted about their bodies and maybe won't speak out. Obviously, I hear every apology going because my job is to look at naked people and make them feel more confident. But lots of the time it's alone, or lads might banter across and maybe rip, say jokes, but those jokes will stay with them. And I think the conversation definitely needs to open up in the men's arena.
For sure. So what specific advice would you give somebody who was really struggling with a negative self-image?
I would say definitely curate your feed to positive images that celebrate your body and not shame your body. That was one of the first things that I did when coming into the body positive community. And I can't stress how important it was for me to see other women's bodies that were shaped like mine, but they were just so confident and just celebrating themselves, and they were out wearing bikinis and stuff. And that's what actually prompted me to start being a bit more, not daring, but just being a bit more fluid and free with how I chose to dress as well. And, you know, so I think it's just so important to curate your feed, and just anything that comes across as toxic, anything that makes you feel really horrible about yourself, or anything that makes you compare your body to somebody else's body, just unfollow and just take a step back.
I think it's okay as well to say to someone, if you've unfollowed someone and it's a friend, to actually say why, and say, you know what, I've actually got some stuff going on and I love your post, love everything that you're about, but it's my stuff and it's triggering me, and I just need to take a break, and it's nothing personal. And you shouldn't have to apologise for how you feel or how something's making you feel. And I think it's actually an act of bravery to do that, and it's an act of self-respect.
Have you ever had to do that?
Yeah, I would definitely say that to somebody.
I think I did.
But also, I'm a big fan of I'm a big fan of mute as well. If I
mute is amazing. Mute and restrict are like my favourite.
Oh, restrict.
Restrict is wonderful, especially when it comes to trolls, because it's like, or like a troll that is disguising their trolldom as like concern or health concern.
So like
it's like you can't really outrightly block them, but you just don't want others to see it. So like you literally just put them on restrict, and they're the only ones that can see
they're
it.
shouting into the abyss. That's like we planned that. 3, 2, 1. Okay, so last question then. Do you think something like the Digital Detox Day is a great way for everybody to come offline for a whole day, to really think about how they use social media, how social media makes them feel, and just to kind of reflect a little bit on their usage and how, you know, how it's making them feel, what changes they can make?
I think it's a great thing, because I think in today's sort of nowadays period, being online is like our normal, and it shouldn't be our normal, because it's just one part of a huge life that we all have. And I think especially I'm guilty of doing this, where I replace things that I used to really love doing with just being online or being on Instagram or talking to someone on Twitter, whatever the case may be. So for me, being offline and being able to get into a lot of self-care things that make me happy is amazing. So things like reading or photography, or like for me playing my Nintendo Switch.
I love that.
It's my favourite thing ever. Just given my mind a rest from people and constant interactions and constant access as well, having a lot of access and too much communication, especially if you're quite introverted like myself. Like sometimes having too much access is a lot, so being able to have that day to just switch off and just hang with friends, or, you know, write a letter, or just do something that kind of nurtures your soul that doesn't sort of reside online, I think is a great thing.
I think as well, book your time. Like if you're taking a day out, book what you're going to do. Like get theatre tickets, maybe go to the cinema, maybe message a friend and say, do you want to go for a walk or a hike, and be outside and just flood yourself with positivity that doesn't involve your phone. If you want to take pictures and content, you don't have to post it in real time. You can
get a little disposable pan.
Disposable, there we go,
But just use your time wisely.
I went away last year to Amsterdam with my boyfriend, and I put my phone in the side table in the hotel, and I didn't touch it for 4 days. And I could honestly say that was like the best thing I've done for myself in years. It felt impeccable. I had conversations. Like, I love people watching at the best of times, but even I might take Social Detox Day to go people watch and just watch. I love it. It's just doing things that you would be doing in that time. Finish that book that you've been putting off forever. Go to a coffee shop and I'm just saying what I'm going to do. I'm going to people watch and read a book. There you go.
Okay, so thanks so much, guys. I've absolutely loved chatting with you, and I know that a lot of people watching this will have found that so amazing. So thank you. And guys, don't forget, there's going to be lots more content. Join us for Digital Detox Day, and I'll see you again soon. Bye.
Join us on the 5th of September and post a picture letting everyone know you're off.